You know, folks, the whole world is talking about Bitcoin. Want to know why? Maybe it's because Bitcoin rose in value over 150% last year, and this is just the beginning. Bitcoin is online investing that anyone can do. Visit bitcoinuniversity.org today. Take a master class. Download the Book of Bitcoin and take your investment portfolio to the next level. Visit bitcoinuniversity.org and discover all that a Bitcoin can do for you. That's bitcoinuniversity.org, bitcoinuniversity.org.
It's the Larry Kudlow Show. Free market prosperity starts here. Now, here's Larry Kudlow.
So, as we talked about earlier, Mr. Trump is going to clean out the CIA and the FBI and the Justice Department. And also in the works is a review of the Pentagon generals. All of that is out there. Those were campaign pledges. They're all underway in the transition period. Promises made, promises kept. Let's bring in Kash Patel, dear friend, a Trump senior advisor. Kash is a former chief of staff in the Defense Department. His book is Government Gangsters, The Deep State, the Truth, and the Battle for Our Democracy, and it is a film entitled Government Gangsters. In fact, Kash, when was that film released?
About 4 months ago on warroom.film, and I guess we can use it now as the roadmap to President Trump's victory.
It's terrific stuff. A quick word. I know you're one of the leading candidates to be the FBI director. I'm pulling for you. A lot of people are pulling for you, by the by. I don't know all the internal workings of the FBI. Tell us a couple things. I don't want to get you in any trouble, but tell us a couple things that need to be looked at if we have an overhaul of the FBI. And by the way, you probably saw the story. They're at it again. The FBI made a pre-dawn raid on this kid who runs Poly Markets, you know, the pay-for-play betting parlor. I mean, it's an absolute outrage. I mean, it's like the last weaponization act of the Biden Justice Department.
Yeah, look, it was great to see you, by the way, in person down here in Palm Beach. And
yes.
From the president and his team, with Chief Wiles, they're putting together a spectacular team. So whatever they decide is going to be best for this country. You know, but in terms of my experience at the FBI, it's just an operational change that needs to occur, in my opinion, from a leadership level. And what I mean by that is the counterintelligence unit at the FBI was stood up in 2014 by none other than James Comey. It was supposed to allow them to selectively collect intelligence when there was a connection to criminal activity, because that's the only mandate the FBI has. It's not an intelligence collection agency. But that place has metastasized into basically like a mini CIA, illegally spying not just on President Trump, but thousands of Americans through the FISA process over the bogus label of quote-unquote counter intel. And so if you could start there, I think that has been the epicenter of the FBI's weaponization of justice. And then you start out branching out from there to the other what we call silos in the FBI. There's 6 of them.
Kash, how political has the FBI become?
Sadly, you know, it's too political. And it's not the agents that are doing the job. It's the leadership and the people vying for the leadership positions. And the fact that you have to come back to Washington, D.C. to get a senior promotion in the FBI is one of the institutional problems. They force you to rotate through politics, to which you need to subscribe to publicly and internally if you want a promotion. That's not the way it works. And they also, by the way, Larry, if you can believe it, the FBI has this thing called IPM, Integrated Program Management. It's a quota system. It's an actual quota system that is run by hundreds of people. And the metrics are how many cases did you open, how many reports did you write, how many of this and that and the other thing, instead of, hey, did we catch the bad guy we were after and put him in prison?
Wow. You know, Kash Patel, I kind of assumed down through the years that the problem was at the top of the Washington office of the FBI, but other people have said to me that the heads of the bureaus around the country are pretty political too. And the politics of all this is pretty liberal left.
Look, at the end of the day, the way to look at the FBI is the way you look at the Justice Department. There's 91 U.S. attorneys, and every president has the right to choose all those 91 U.S. attorneys in the separate districts that we have. There's also a special agent in charge in every one of those districts. And in my opinion, the president's team should be able to choose who they want to be their top cop with their top lawyer. It's just that simple. And then look, that's what the Biden-Harris administration did. They moved their people in there. And I think President Trump should be afforded the same opportunity.
Right. And you've got now John Ratcliffe nominated to run the CIA. He will be confirmed easily. He's a very, very respected guy. Where would a John Ratcliffe start? Because, I mean, the CIA, again, seems chock full of very liberal leaders. I mean, what they did, 51 former intelligence agents lied about the Hunter Biden laptop, which they knew, which was actually the FBI knew about it a year ahead. But it was the CIA that came out with all these intel agencies to back up Joe Biden back in the debate in 2020. Where would you start there? How much house cleaning? It seems like it has become so liberal. They'll all be opposed to Donald Trump. Where do you think Ratcliffe goes on that one?
John's got the experience from DNI in the House in his time as U.S. attorney, and he's fought against the politicization. So I think he's going to be well suited to run that building. But in my opinion, the analytical, what we call the Directorate of Analysis, it's where all the intelligence analysts sit, is hubbed out of Langley, and that has been the core universe of where things like Impeachment 1 and 51 Intel Letter came out of. And what they've done is reverse engineer intelligence products to achieve a political end. You need those folks to be processing intelligence outside of Langley by those who are collecting intelligence and working with them instead of writing products and saying, oh, this is what we think the intelligence should say. Rather than show me the intelligence, I'll write a report and I'll send it up the chain of command. It's where I believe the weaponization occurred, in my opinion, over at Langley.
How much, in both cases, the CIA and the FBI, how much diversity, equity, and inclusion is there? How much woke thinking is there? How much critical race theory is there?
Too much. And you simply have to look at the fact that they have offices for DEI. They have senior level employment officers, both inside America and abroad at both those agencies whose sole job is DEI. And that's not how we're supposed to be doing things. It's supposed to be based on merit. So I would offer another opinion to remove those. I'm not saying we don't need a diversity of thought and people. I'm simply saying that should not be the end all for how we operate those agencies.
Let me ask you one other thing, the last couple minutes here. A review of the Pentagon generals. Good idea, bad idea, and what would that be like? And correct me if I'm wrong, Kash, but I looked this up for the TV show. We had something like this many years ago, like 75 years ago. It was George C. Marshall who did something like this during World War II. You got Pete Hegseth going over there. Good idea, bad idea?
Look, I love the fact that we're sending a warrior, an actual operational warrior, to run the Pentagon, and Pete Hegseth's a great choice. And yes, there has to be a review. The chairman, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff office is so heavily bloated with 3- and 4-star officers. I'm not saying they're not great warriors and operators, but I don't know what they do. And I was a chief of staff of the Department of Defense, and they all work for me. We need some of them. We don't need all of them. And we also need to ensure a new process there. Just like the other agencies and departments, they come and sit in Washington and hope for their next promotion. We need those guys out in the field. And if there's not field work for them to do, then we don't need them at the Pentagon. And, I think, Pete's going to have his work cut out for him in that, but we need to review those because look at where the heavy politicization of the DOD came from. They stood up climate change and DEI out of the chairmen of the Joint Chiefs of Staff offices instead of implementing the no-fail mission to secure our freedom. It's a pretty stark contrast, and I think it's going to need some change.
No, that's important because, Hegseth's book, War Against Warriors, was all about the woke that's infiltrated in the Pentagon. And I don't want to question their patriotism, but I just think, again, it all sounds too darn political to me, Kash Patel. That's not what we want our military. We want peace through strength. We want the best military in the world, and it sounds like it needs reform.
It does, and I think Pete Hegseth's going to be the guy that gives it to him. We have a nickname in there that in the Pentagon hallways that we haven't utilized in a long time, and it's called the Soldier's Secretary. And that's what you need at the head shed of the Pentagon, in my opinion, and that's what you got in Pete Hegseth, a guy who's going to remember that place exists to service our warfighter, and that is it.
Oh.
And if we make that a priority, we'll be good to go.
The Soldier's Secretary. I love that. That's terrific. Folks, that's Kash Patel, Senior Advisor to President Trump. Cash's book is Government Gangsters, and the film by the same name. Thank you, Cash. We appreciate it. Folks, we're going to take a very quick break, and then we're going to turn to the economy. One of Wall Street's top economists, my pal Conrad DiQuatros, will be here. Inflation is pretty sticky, and what's the Fed going to do? And I'm Kudlow, and we'll be right back.
This is the Larry Kudlow Show.
Janine Pirro here for Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group helps Americans protect their future with the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver. If you're retiring or retired, go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Pirro for your free Janine Pirro Colonial Metals Group Retirement Protection Kit, or call 800-965-8004. 800-965-8004 now to receive a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver.